Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences.
Russia unleashes war on Ukraine, sending a shockwave of explosions through the country. President Biden responds with several more crushing economic sanctions against Russia. He says they are designed to maximize long-term impact on Russia and minimize the impact in the U.S. and its allies. They include restrictions on exports to Russia and sanctions on Russian banks and state-controlled companies. Russian-launched airstrikes overnight on cities and military bases, and so far, at least 57 people have been killed and 169 have been injured. Civilians ran for cover underground, turning subways into bomb shelters, and others got stuck in traffic trying to evacuate the capital city of Kyiv. Officials in the country say that they have lost control of the decommissioned Chernobyl nuclear power plant, scene of the world's worst nuclear disaster. And the Pentagon ordered deployment of 7,000 U.S. troops to Europe, but none into the Ukraine.
This aggression cannot go unanswered. If it did, the consequences for America would be much worse. America stands up to bullies. We stand up for freedom. This is who we are.
Indiana Congressman Larry Bucshon says that he was surprised Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. He believes it's a huge mistake. Just in the last hour, I asked the congressman about President Biden's response. In your opinion, how is the president handling this? And are the sanctions that he announced today enough?
Well, I think the administration got off to a little bit of a slow start. I mean, I think, and not projecting more strength. But that said, I think, they've caught up. I think the sanctions I wish would have been put on a week or two ago. But, you can debate that one way or the other. But I do think these initial sanctions are appropriate. I think sending more troops to Germany and other surrounding NATO countries to defend our NATO allies is appropriate. And I'm hopeful the administration will continue to be aggressive.
Bucshon says that he doesn't think sanctions alone will stop Putin. Meanwhile, Indiana Senator Todd Young says the U.S. must stand with Ukraine, writing in part, you see it here, American strength and leadership in this moment is critical. The weak response from the United States following Russia's previous invasions of Georgia and Crimea left Putin undeterred in his perverse ambition of rebuilding the Soviet Union. In the face of Russian aggression in Ukraine, the United States must be united and resolute.
Emotions are strong for Ukrainians all across central Indiana. Some have family in Ukraine that are in desperate situations. News 8's Camila Fernandez spoke with some of these Ukrainians and how they're trying to help their family and friends back home.
I had a sleepless night and talking with our teams and with my father, with my brother.
Alex Morozov is worried about his family. He's also worried about the more than 100 employees working for him in western Ukraine. Morozov owns a software solutions company in Carmel. He says it's heartbreaking to watch the country suffer.
When you see those Russian missiles hitting Kyiv, and you know that so many innocent people there. So it's tough.
Svetlana Raymer moved to the United States about 13 years ago from Ukraine. Raymer says her mother called her at around midnight from Kyiv to let her know what was going on. She says her 90-year-old grandmother lives with her mom.
She actually called me a couple times around midnight, and I was asleep, but then I called her back around 6 a.m. and I wasn't able to get a hold of her for a little while. I was really worried, but I finally got through, and she said they were okay. But they woke up around 5 a.m. to explosion sounds.
Raymer says it's tough to be so far away from her family.
I feel helpless that, now that the airspace has been closed and the actual military operation has begun, there's not even a way really to get her on the plane and get her out of there.
Morozov says he's hopeful that the sanctions against Russia will help Ukraine rise and that he's grateful to the United States.
If America will step up strong and provide those really hard, heavy sanctions on Russia economy, so it definitely will help in the long run.
Camila Fernandez, Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.